All right, here we go. I think tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to do me up a pulled pork on the smoker over there. But I don't want to do this full roast here. So I think what I'm going to do is right now quarter it. So that would give me that much. And that would give me a small section. I'll see what it looks like. Maybe I'll just do it in thirds. But right now I want to cut this open. And what I'm going to do is whatever size I decide to smoke, I'm going to coat it with mustard. That is not for taste. You won't even taste the mustard, but what it's used is it's a binder so that the spices, whatever you decide to use, will stick to the roast. A lot of people will make the mistake of coating their roast with oil. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but the oil creates a barrier to where the smoke flavor can hardly get to the meat. So for those who are, let's say, just baking in the oven, that might not be a bad thing. Something tells me the way this feels, I know that don't look too safe, but trust me, I'm good with a knife. And I thought that might be a couple of pieces, so we're gonna have to take a look and see really what we got here before I start thinking I'm gonna be cutting anything. It might already be pretty sectioned off. So let's get rid of this. A spare glove here, and let's just get this out of the way. Let's see what we got here. It's one. So here we go. There's one piece right here. And it looks like they butterflied it to get the bone out. Let's see what this is. This is a second piece butterflied to get the bone out. So what I think I'm going to do, clean this up a little bit and use the smaller of the two pieces. Put this in a freezer lock bag and freeze it. Let's see how thick this fat is. So normally you don't want to clean too much fat off, but if it's that hard fat that does not render, meaning that once it gets up to temperature it does not melt, you need to cut it off. And this piece right here feels like that kind of fat. So just pull on it. You're just going to get a little meat on it, but not too bad. You see what I'm saying? You're going to get a little meat, but not too bad. Not too bad now. I can live with that amount of fat. Just a little bit more off of this right here. And then we're going to start. There we go. There we go. I'm happy with that. All right. So, mustard. Liberally. Again, you won't taste this. You absolutely will not taste this. Just rub it around. Get it in the folds. Okay, I'll be back as soon as this is done. Okay, I'm back. So, cleaned up the mess, brought the other half of the roast back in. And what I did is, you season it your way, I season it mine. There's no, right or wrong flavor profile, but I bought this from Lowe's. I emptied half of it out into another container and filled that void, filled that with brown sugar. So I got half of this is brown sugar and half of this is pork rub. So I sprinkle this all over it. I pat it on there. So I like a sweet profile myself. I kind of like a sweet but spicy. I like that heat and sweetness together. You know what I mean? And then what I did is sprinkle this on. Now I got all the folds in there and everything. So I went right into the folds and everything and then wrapped it back up, so to speak. So you can see what I've done there. And now what I'm going to do is, this is going to sit in the fridge overnight. I throw some saran wrap over it. It's going to sit in the fridge overnight. And what I'm going to do is wake up in the morning. I'm going to turn that smoker on to 180. The lower the temperature, the more smoke infusion it's going to get. My goal is to smoke this for about 8 hours. I think I might do 6. I think I could do it in 6. Right around hour 3, I'll turn up the temperature from 180 to maybe 2 1/4, 250, and we'll see if we can get it done in 6 hours. You're gonna come along for the ride. You're gonna watch the process and whatnot. So tomorrow night, my goal is to then shred this. You'll watch that as well. Shred this. Mix in my favorite barbecue sauce. That's the Sweet Baby James. That's the sweet and spicy. There I go again with that flavor profile. A lot of people say, why don't I throw salt in there? I find that salt, and again, there's no right or wrong, but I find salt draws out the moisture of the meat, so you don't get as juicy as a piece of chicken, or you don't get as juicy as a piece of pork or beef. So I save the salt. To me, salt is not a seasoning, it's a condiment. I put that on at the dinner table if needed. So tomorrow night, shredded, mix in some Sweet Baby James, sweet and spicy into the shreddings, mix it up, go out, get some good cold coleslaw. Now you're gonna laugh at me. I love the coleslaw. I don't care for their chicken, but I love the coleslaw. I love their coleslaw, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So what we're gonna do is get some really good hamburger buns. I mean, really good ones. Not some junk that falls apart on the plate. And we're gonna do some pulled pork sandwiches tomorrow night. You know what I mean? So I'll see you tomorrow morning. We're gonna turn on the smoker, throw this on, and we're gonna go through the journey of getting this done. Grill's at 185 right now. I have a competition blend pellets consisting of hickory, maple, cherry, So this has been sitting in the fridge. I'd say, just trying to estimate, I'd say about 15 hours with all the spices on there and whatnot. To get it on the smoker. Smoker's currently set at temperature, I set it for 180. However, here in the Arizona sun, it's shooting right around 193 right now. So the trick of this is, when they boned it at the butcher, they had to butterfly it, meaning they took a round piece of meat and they opened it up and then removed the bone. The trick is to put it on the smokers and maintain that fold. Now the cooler side of my grill is here, hotter side there. I'm going to try to keep it right here. I'm going to keep that fold in there. And boom, it's just going to sit right there for the duration of the smoke. Okay, so I'm going to close this. I'll see you at the first spraying. We're going to spray it with cherry juice. Take care. Okay, it's almost time to start our first spray. A lot of people use apple juice. Some will use orange juice. Whatever you use. And if you're using a sprayer, make sure it doesn't have a bunch of fruit particles in it. You know, it's funny, I didn't even shave this morning. I'm just thinking about that in my head. I'm going all, it's Sunday, you know, I just go all, you know, whenever I smoke meat, this caveman genes come out in me, you know, the old genetics of us men. You know, we don't like to shave, we like to drink a little bit and like to play with fire, you know, that sort of stupid stuff. So excuse me if I'm going all bum out on you. But anyhow, I had a jar of these cherries, and you know, I don't drink an awful lot, and when I do, I don't put cherries in my drink. But I thought, you know, they're in the house, let's just use them up. Use up the juice at least. Maybe who knows, maybe I'll pulverize 2 or 3 of them and add it to the barbecue sauce that I mix in with the pulled pork, you know, and kind of give it some of that flavor. But other than that, I don't really use these. So again, what I was saying, a lot of people use different juices. Some will mix a little bit of vinegar in with their juice, but whatever you do, if you're using a sprayer, make sure it's free of fruit particles, otherwise it's going to clog your sprayer. You can do that with cheesecloth, you can do that with a strainer, but I took a look at this and I don't really see any particles. So I'm going to use some cherry juice. It's something that we never heard much about, and let's take a look and get this done. I like this sprayer because when you spray, one squeeze, it sprays for about 5-10 seconds. So it's like you don't have to keep going. So let's just get some of this juice in here. A little bit more. I don't think I'm going to use the total jar of this. Cherry fell right in here, so stuck down in there. Son of a gun! I want my cherry. Okay, got it. Actually, these suckers are good, but high in sugar, I don't need it. Okay, so we're gonna go and take a look at the pulled pork. It went on at 7:45. It's now about 8:45. Now let me tell you something. This is kind of for those people who are new at smoking or considering getting into smoking. The bulk of the smoke flavor, I said the bulk, that doesn't mean all of it, but the bulk of the smoke flavor is affected by two variables. Believe it or not, the coldness of the meat. So when the meat is really cold, it tends to absorb more of that smokiness. And as the temperature warms up of the meat, whatever meat you're using, the infusion of smoke into the meat slows down. So your bulk of your smoke is going to be at the beginning of the cooking. In addition, the lower the temperature is the second variable. Okay, so the lowest temperature on this grill is 180. You factor in the Tucson, Arizona temperature, the lowest I can get it is 195. So I get it as low as possible. Those two variables together is going to punch it with some phenomenal smoke. So now the meat is starting to warm up. I took a look at it. It's getting that dry look to it. It's time that we do some spraying. We got a cactus wren. It's one of our native birds here in Arizona. Just freaking screaming its brains out. So I'm not going to disturb the meat here. I'm not going to move it on the grill or anything, but take notice the glistening that you saw when I first put the meat on, that wet look is gone. The skin is dry now and whatnot. It's still soft to the touch. Softness determines. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of times you don't even need a thermometer to tell your temperature. If you've been cooking meat long enough for many years, just the firmness of the meat will tell you how cooked it is or how raw it is, and that's pretty freaking raw still. So it's in that beginning stage of the smoking. So what we're going to do is get some of this cherry juice and just coat it. And I love this, how it's spraying already, and I'm trying to get it all over. So now you see we got that glistening back. And what's going to happen now? We're taking a look at some cherry juice here that's going to dry out again. These juices are going to keep drying out. What it's going to leave behind is that sugar coating, that cherry flavored sugar coating. And each time we spray another layer on, and each time it dries out, that coating is going to create what they call a bark. And it's going to be sweet. It's going to be the flavor of the juice that we put on, in this case cherry. But if you're smoking, again, use apple, use orange, use whatever you want. Use grape juice. Again, just remember, if you're using a sprayer, make sure the juice is clean. Otherwise, you're going to clean it. You're going to clog it up. Like I said, I like this one spray, and it just goes a long time instead of having to do this. So let's take a closer look at this, and I'll turn the camera off. And you can see some of the red cherry juice back in there. That's not blood, just pulled up. The cherry juice pulled up. And this is going to just be beautiful. It's just going to be beautiful. Pardon the shadow of the camera. It's going to be beautiful. Okay, see you in another hour or two. I think, like I said, it's been on 1 hour. The bulk of the smoking is pretty much done. I said the bulk, not all of it. So what I think I'll do is in another half an hour, I'm going to raise the temperature from the 190. Actually, it's back down to 180. Now that the door of the smoker's open. But what I think I'm going to do is up it to 225. That's going to guarantee me that it's going to be done within that 6 to 8 hour time frame where I would like to serve dinner. Take care. Wow, that's good. I gotta eat something before that pulled pork is done. So I think I'm gonna use this bread and make a ham and Swiss cheese sandwich. Okay, it's time to check the temperature. It is 11:45 Tucson, Arizona time, so it's been on the grill since 7:45. I think it's time to increase the heat. Let's just take the internal temperature. Showing right around 143, 142. My goal is to get this up into 190 area, so the fat starts rendering. I think right around 190 the fat will start rendering. So let's get a spray going on with the cherry juice. Notice that there was a shine before I started putting the juice on, so already we're starting to get almost like a candy crust to it. A little bit in these crevices, every little bit. Notice that it's starting to look really pretty for a rugged piece of meat, I should have said, that went on. It's starting to look really pretty. Currently out of the camera frame right now, but I'm increasing the temperature. Increasing it from, so what I did is, I start out at 180, and about an hour after, during my first spray, misting of the juice, cherry juice by the way, if you're just tuning to 300. So about every few hours, every couple hours, I increase it by a little bit in the hopes that it'll be done. So right now I said it's a quarter to 12. You know, I'm hoping that it's going to be done in another 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, 4 o'clock. I'll give it some time to cool off, an hour, and then start shredding after it cools off. So let's take a look real quick. Take a look at some of the color that we're getting on this. I'm hand holding the camera, so pardon me. Let's try this. Zoom in on that. Look at that red meat. Oh. Beautiful. Beautiful. Get on the other side of that thing. You're in the grill now, man. You're in the grill. Anyway, see you in about another hour. Okay, 176, so I'm about 20 degrees off of my mark. I want it to be about 195. So you'll notice, I'm going to hand carry the camera now. You'll notice that the meat has gotten a little darker. We unlock the screen on this camera. Right angle with this. Got a lot of glare due to the fact that we got sunlight above us. So it's kind of sticky. I don't think I need to put any more juice on it. So I'm gonna wait. Just have to wait now. This is the crucial part of making sure it gets up to temperature. 195 to get the fat to render. Now, pork chops and stuff like that, that's already lean, you know, 145, 155. But when you got a roast that has fat in it that needs to be pulled apart, it's got to be 195. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to tear the meat apart very easily. It's not going to be enjoyable to eat. So like I said, something leaner, like a leaner pork, a pork tenderloin or something like that, easily 145 to 155 should be adequate. Oh shoot, I thought I had it 190. So the outer portion of the meat, so if I put it in this far, it's 190. I'm waiting for the temperature to kind of permeate or get into this area. So let's see what this is right here. Still low, still low. Darn it. I'm getting impatient now. I'm getting impatient. Nice and sticky up there. Oh. Alright, just a little bit longer, I guess. Gotta just keep waiting. I'm actually gonna turn the meat around and give the other side time to get some of that bigger heat. You can see some of the start to see some of the interesting looking parts here. Let me see if I can put the camera a little bit closer. I have to adjust the camera here real quick. Just be patient. There we go. Beautiful. Isn't that a beautiful thing? All right. Let's take a look at some temps. getting really excited. 201. Actually, 204 red. That's going in like butter. 198. That's perfect. If you can read that, 203. That's perfect. The fat is rendered. So, what we're going to do now, get this puppy off. Get it in the kitchen for cooling. So it's going to cool. It's actually 5 minutes till 4. So I remember I put it on at 7:45. 5 minutes to 4 right now. I'm going to let it cool for a good hour. And then I'm going to commence shredding it and throwing my barbecue sauce in there. You'll be there to watch. Okay, let's talk about bringing that meat up to the next level, bringing this pork up to the next level. You know, there's no right or wrong way. You can create your own recipes. You got a lot of YouTube channels that try to tell you got to do it like this or else the world's going to cave in. That is not the case. My thing is always experiment, and when you get something, it's kind of like a scientific project. Write the recipe down once you hit it on the head. The thing about it is, whatever we add to this, we still want this roast. We still want this to be the prevalent flavor. We don't want any additive to overcome this. This is the show right here. Now, there's some ideas. What I'll do, I know I'll put a bunch of this in a bowl. I'll put some of this in a bowl and mix it up. What I love is these little peppers. We put them on pizza a lot. I like to put this just a little bit in the sauce and let these soften up again. I love that. So we'll get rid of that. We're going to put that to the side because that's what we're going to do. Now I thought about what I could do to bring that up a notch. In the bowl, let me get a bowl out. Just put this to the side right there. I'm going to put maybe a teaspoon, not even a teaspoon, maybe a half a teaspoon of these red peppers in there. I'm going to dump a bunch of this in there. And I got a couple of options here in the house at the time. I can take some of these. I can take maybe 2 slices, grind it and mash it up really good, throw it in with the barbecue sauce, stir, and once this is shredded, dump that all into the shreddings. Mix it up, you have your pulled pork. That's just an option. I decided against that actually, because if you recall, I sprayed this down with the cherry juice that was in here. So what I think I'm going to do is, I'm going to take 1 or 2 cherries. Again, do not want to overwrite the flavors of that roast right there. I'm going to just take 1 or 2, and I'm talking mince it up very finely, add it to the barbecue sauce, and then I'm going to add that barbecue sauce to the shredded pork. So that's what I'm going to do. These 3 items are going to be my barbecue sauce base for that. So this just got off the grill. It's heating. I mean, what am I saying? It's not heating. It is cooling down. I'm going to let it cool down for a good hour, and then I'm going to shred the heck out of it. And I'll see you back then. Take care. Any amount, whatever you like, just throw it in there. You know what I mean? Get yourself a nice sharp knife. This one ought to do. I'm just going to do 2 cherries. Listen, I don't want to risk having the cherries overwhelm the pork. But I'm going to put in just enough that every now and then you get a bite of a piece. This should complement the juice I've been spraying on. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so before I put the barbecue sauce in the bowl, I want to shred that, see what kind of volume I get to determine how much barbecue sauce I'm going to need. So let me clean things up here. I have a little confession. I was picking at the meat a little bit. Some of the crunchies, and oh man, some of this stuff is looking really good. So let me put this to the side. Get a couple of forks, and let's see if I can start rocking and rolling with this. Let's see how hot that is. Might still be a little too hot to look at that. It's just falling apart. You see that? It's just falling apart. I'm not even, and it is hot. It is hot. So what I'm going to do is break some of this off into smaller chunks and then use the forks. So now I got the bark holding it together. Remember what I was telling you about the bark? Look at that. That's bark. I'll even get rid of the meat underneath it. That's the bark. And when you shred that up, mix it up in there, it is going to be freaking awesome. I don't know if you're seeing this. I want to get the camera, shake the camera a little bit. But I want to make sure you see how tender this meat is. Look at that. Okay. Look at that. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord, look at that. Beauty. Beauty. Just falling apart. And that's what happens when you let the meat get up to rendering temperature for pork. Again, it's 195, I believe. Some of this meat actually got up to 201. And that means some of this fat just melted. Now that big piece right here that I have in my hand, I'm going to dispose of that. I don't want that big chunk in there. Get that off to the side. Get that off to the side. Get the crunchy off of it though. Because I'm going to clean it up a little bit, right? We don't need to be eating that. So what I'm going to do is pause the camera real quick. I'm going to wash my hands. And I'm going to come back. Get rid of that fat. And I'm going to start shredding this with the 2 forks. Okay? Okay, let's see how this works out. And just take your time, you know, and it doesn't have to be finely shredded to your taste. If you want slightly bigger chunks, you do it. I mean, just come back and just shred it all up. I'm trying to keep my hands out of the camera's view. I don't have to shred it all up. If I want, if you want, we can leave some of this, put it in a seal meal, and freeze it for next time. It doesn't all have to be consumed. Well, that chunk just fell right apart. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, you don't need to watch. I don't want to bore you to death. And then I'll turn the camera off and come back when this is all shredded, and we'll work on the barbecue sauce. So you got an idea what I'm doing. You know, just taking chunks and just, basically I'm scratching it until they fall apart. That's pretty much it. Okay, be right back. Okay, I'm turning the camera once again. So I'm finished shredding. I see the volume that I got to work with, the amount of meat. So I want to put what I think the amount of sauce I need in here, barbecue sauce that is, to get that wet. So what I'm going to do though, to make things, oh, by the way, I wanted to talk about something here. I've already mentioned it earlier. You make the meat as fine as you want, or as chunky as you want. I would recommend something though, that I would urge you to follow. You're going to have a bunch of crunchy stuff that is just delectable. Everybody's just going to want this crunchy stuff. Everybody's going to want the skin, or I should say the bark that's infused with whatever juice you choose. My thing is, make the bulk of your meat as fine shredded or as chunky as you want. But the crunchies, the stuff that everybody loves, make that as fine as possible. That way everybody gets a little bit of it in every sandwich they get. So let's get this transferred to a bowl. I even gave the dog a little piece. I didn't give anybody any samples, but I give the dog. I love my dog. I love my dog. All right. So let me put this away and rinse my hands. Boom, boom, boom. Done. Dry it off with a towel. Let's take a look at this. Let's get it. I want to show you a little bit of what's going on. Give you an idea of how tall the bowl is. The bowl's a good 6 inches tall. And let's get this back over here. So now we're going to work with the barbecue sauce. Now I'm going to be walking around the kitchen and talking at the same time, so you're going to hear my voice go dim as I move away from the camera. I'll try to talk loud. All right, so again, I put the amount of cherries. I didn't want to overwhelm this meat with cherries or peppers. And now what I'm going to do, I got an opened jar here of this barbecue sauce. Oh, I'm just making a mess. I went to go look at the camera to make sure I was aiming at the sauce, and I made a little mess, but that's okay. That's what paper towels are for. I'm normally, when I'm not filming, I'm normally the neatest person in the kitchen. I'm not exaggerating. I can wake up the morning of Thanksgiving and cook a full course meal for 10 people. Turkey, homemade gravy, homemade mashed potatoes, casseroles up the yin yang. And by the time I serve dinner, every dish that I use to cook with, every utensil that I use to cook with is cleaned and put away. That way, by the time dinner is done, all I need to do, or all the wife needs to do, is just do the dishes. Boom, done. That's how proficient I am in the kitchen. But when I got a camera and I'm trying to keep it focused on the food, it gets a little tricky. So I need to open up another one. I love this Sweet Baby James, Sweet Baby Ray's, whatever it used to be. I thought it used to be called Sweet Baby James, but I could be mistaken. So I love cooking. It's kind of like a hobby of mine. Again, you're not seeing me measure this out. You're not seeing me measure nothing out. It's how I want it. If I want the meat just a little bit of, drier, I won't put as much sauce in. One of the most useful tools in the kitchen, one of the very most useful tools in the kitchen, is a set of good rubber spatulas. I might put some more sauce in. It just depends once I mix it. The consistency. All right. The thing about a rubber spatula, you can literally clean out a bowl. So let's mix this up and see how it... Now, normally I would use my hands, but yeah, I can tell I might need just a little bit more sauce. And I'll pour the sauce because I've already mixed in the cherries and the peppers already. So I think that should suffice. And I'm gonna mix this up and... Okay, so let's take a look at this. Everything's mixed up. I added in an extra cherry. I'm moving the camera by hand. Sorry about the shakiness. And you should be able to see some of the cherries. Not too many, but just enough where every now and then you're gonna get a bite of them. Just something to waken up the senses. So let's go ahead and make a sandwich. I get the best buns I can find. I'm not saying that these are the best in the world. They're the Aunt Hattie's. Not the best. Petridge. Am I saying that right? Petridge Farms are pretty good. I tend to stay away from the Wonder Bread type of thing. They fall apart in your hands. They just don't have the gluten in them that holds bread together. Normally when bread falls apart, it just crumbles in your hand just from touching it. It's just crappy wheat. When you knead dough, it builds gluten. That's strength in the dough, so they probably throw it in a machine, crappy flour, and they just don't do a good job at it. So, as I was telling you, the very best. I hate their chicken. I don't hate their chicken. The chicken tastes all right, especially if you get it fresh. I mean, but what I do love is their coleslaw. I love their coleslaw, and if it's cold, I mean freaking cold, I'm freaking happy. Look at that. Just look at that. So, typically, pulled pork sandwich is served with the coleslaw when you go to the South, when you go to the Carolinas and whatnot. I think even in Tennessee they serve it with the coleslaw. So just throw a little bit on your meat. Get another fork here. Look at that. Look at that. A little bit more, because I'm a pig. A little bit more. I can see a cherry in there, Got that cherry right there. You see that? Oh. Not too many, not too little. Now what we're going to do is get a little scoop of this. I'm going to use my finger just to balance it on there. All cooks do that. Boom, boom, done. Let's see if I can wet my hand and then cut this. Serrated blade so you don't tear everything up. I'm pushing it out the back end. That's okay. There you go. Now I'm going to taste it. I might even aim the camera at myself. Hold on. Yeah, I think I should, so you can see the look of just sheer enjoyment on my face. Move the camera here. All right, I think I'm in. Immediately, I got one of those little crunchies from the pulled pork. Those crunchies I told you to really shred up really good so everybody gets some. Immediately get my first bite, got some of that, and then the cold coleslaw is just amazing. This is very good, and I'm telling you, like any sandwich, the bun makes the difference. You can have the best meats in the world, the best cheeses, the best mustards and pickles on it. If the bread sucks, the sandwich sucks. Okay, phenomenal. And the reason why I'm surprised is first time doing this. And it was so easy. Amazingly easy. Folks, try it. Go get yourself a pork shoulder roast or pork butt roast. Get it on that grill. You're going to make the family happy. Take care.